federal government had added a new disease to its recommended list for newborn screening, but it could be years before Wisconsin starts testing for the deadly disorder.
FOX 6 investigator Brian Polson joins us here in studio with the reason your baby's life could depend on where it's born.
Yeah, Ben and Steph, September is Newborn Screening Awareness Month, and earlier this summer, Krabbe disease became the 38th disorder on the federal government's recommended list for newborn screening. But when it comes to following those recommendations, critics say Wisconsin is falling behind. Colin Cushman's life could have been so much better.
Who knows? Who knows what he could have done?
If only there'd been a way. What do you remember about Colin?
He was the best brother ever.
To detect the rare disease that afflicted him before it was too late.
Sorry.
Right, honey? He was the best brother.
Now, there is a test that could save children just like him.
I'm hopeful that it can and will be done for future Wisconsin babies.
And for the past 9 years, Kevin and Judy Cushman have been trying to convince the state of Wisconsin to use it.
Because there will be more kiddos born with this disease.
More than 60,000 babies are born in Wisconsin every year, and short of a parent's religious objection, all of them are tested by law for hearing loss, congenital heart defects, and a growing list of rare but deadly disorders.
Newborn screening is one of the greatest public health achievements in the last 100 years.
It's okay, buddy.
With a prick of the heel and gentle squeeze, nurses and midwives collect droplets of a newborn's blood onto a test card, which is then analyzed by the Wisconsin State Laboratory of Hygiene for a list of conditions, some you've heard of, like sickle cell and cystic fibrosis.
Well, I'd like you to pronounce them.
Others so rare.
Yeah.
Elected leaders struggle to say them.
We are able to identify children with very serious and in many cases potentially fatal disorders before those disorders start affecting the baby.
Dr. Robert Steiner is medical director of Wisconsin's newborn screening program.
It saves hundreds of lives every year.
The Cushmans say it could save even more.
I don't want another family to go through what we went through.
When Colin was born in January of 2010, he had a pair of defective genes, one from each of his parents.
We didn't know we were carriers.
But for months he appeared perfectly healthy until toxins began to build up in his brain, causing Colin to lose control of his own body. By the time doctors diagnosed him with Krabbe disease, it was too late to attempt a life-saving bone marrow transplant.
How valuable would that be to you?
I said I wasn't going to cry.
Colin lived 8 years, but never spoke a coherent word.
He could have gone to school on a regular basis. He could have had friends. He could have gone to friends' houses and slept over, and he could have done so much more with his life.
The Cushmans and their doctor first nominated Krabbe disease for inclusion in Wisconsin's newborn screening program in 2015, then again in 2020. Both times, the medical community expressed concerns about the risk of false positives, poor treatment outcomes, and a cost of more than $21 per test for a disease so rare it might affect just one newborn in the state every 3 to 5 years.
In my opinion, we're not ready to do newborn screening for Krabbe disease in Wisconsin.
That was Dr. Steiner in 2021. Today, he says the tests are more accurate, treatments are improving, and the cost could be next to nothing.
The progress is moving very fast.
But the most significant development happened earlier this year.
Like to entertain a motion.
When a federal advisory committee in Washington voted to add Krabbe disease to the Recommended Uniform Screening Panel, or RUSP for short.
Usually once it's recommended to and it's on the RUSP, states will look at it closer.
The RUSP is a list of conditions recommended for testing by states, all of which maintain their own newborn screening programs.
Even though a condition is added at the national level, it doesn't automatically get added at the state level.
The Wisconsin Department of Health Services says it's just that, a recommendation, not a requirement.
We utilize the RUSP to inform our work That doesn't mean we rubber stamp their decisions.
In fact, of the 38 conditions now on the RUSP, Wisconsin tests for just 33. Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota, all the states surrounding Wisconsin, test for more.
We're behind.
And Kim Hogstad believes the reason is bureaucratic red tape.
We have the science here in Wisconsin. What we don't have is a good process.
She is founder of the Wisconsin Rare Disease Alliance, which is pushing to speed up the process for getting new diseases added to the newborn screening program.
Should a newborn's survival depend on what state they're born in?
No, it shouldn't. It should not in this country.
Illinois, Indiana, and Minnesota already test for Krabbe disease, and Iowa recently approved a test in concept. But so far, Wisconsin has rejected Krabbe testing twice. And the director of Wisconsin's Division of Public Health says if advocates want to try again, they'll have to go back to square one.
Yes, we would need another nomination to start the process again.
Why does it need to be nominated again when it's already been nominated multiple times?
That's just how it works in Wisconsin.
Which is extremely frustrating.
Once it's nominated, it will have to pass through a three-tiered gauntlet of regulatory committees, then administrative review, and then rulemaking.
It's slow and clunky.
A process that could take at least another 2 years.
Do you think that this process needs to be streamlined?
I think all of us would like to see that time reduced and be able to add conditions more swiftly.
We need to change the process so we aren't waiting years and years and years.
A bill that would have more closely tied Wisconsin's newborn screening program to the RUSP.
This should be a no-brainer.
Died last winter in the Wisconsin Senate.
We're going to change this.
Hogstad says it's only a matter of time. But time matters. With every day that passes, odds increase that another child will be born.
It could be today. Who knows?
With a deadly disease that goes undetected.
Hey, Bubba.
Until it's too late.
I promised Colin before he passed that we would see this through.
A promise to protect the next child
Love you, bud.
from being born in the wrong state. The medical director of Wisconsin's newborn screening program, Dr. Robert Steiner, says he believes Wisconsin is right in line with other states. Of the 5 federally recommended conditions that are not on our state list, he says 2 are currently approved and in the rulemaking process. 1 is part of an ongoing demonstration project, and the other 2, including Krabbe disease, are expected to receive nominations yet this year.
Brian, you mentioned a bill that would have tied Wisconsin's newborn screening program more closely with those federal recommendations, but it died. Did anyone actually ever speak out against it?
You know, interesting thing is there was no one who spoke out at any of these public hearings. There was no organization registered to lobby against it. But when Krabbe disease was added earlier in the year to the RUSP, the vote was 10-3 in favor. One of those 3 no votes came from Wisconsin's only representative on the panel, Dr. Jennifer Kwan. Now, when I asked DHS about that, Dr. Steiner said a lot has changed even since that vote, which happened back in February or late January. He believes Dr. Kwan's objections may have since been resolved. Either way, the state is awaiting a new nomination to start this process all over again. They say best case scenario, Krabbe testing starts here in Wisconsin in 2026. So a long way to go.
Seems like the science is moving faster than the politicians in Madison.
Well, politicians, the bureaucrats, whatever it is, the process right now says there's a long way to go before this testing happens. You certainly hope they get that in place before another child is born with the disease.
Such an important topic. All right, Brian, we'll see where it goes.
I hope
Thanks.
You got it.